Ladies and gentlemen, this particular story started a few years ago. The reason why we're talking about it right now, because we generally try to put a focus on stories that are happening right now. But there is actually a large update between the sentencing of mom's boyfriend and the mother. So we have a couple of updates there, but you also need to hear about this terrible story that happened to this little boy. And I want you guys to remember that nothing is more difficult than what this baby had to live through. Then we can just share together and listen to his story and hear him out. Around 9 p.m. on Friday, January the 11th of 2019, a 911 call summoned first responders to 430 Zinc Lane in Christiansburg, Virginia, which is the county seat of Montgomery County. The caller, who was 25-year-old Mackenzie Hellman. Let me see if I can get this fat turd back up on my screen. I need to isolate him so you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. This big, fat, barefaced looking MFer right here look like he's somebody's grandfather. Mackenzie Hellman is 25 years old. That is a hard 25 years, boy. That is a hard 25 years in the face. I know I ain't the thinnest person in the world, but I damn sure didn't look like that at 25. That I can guarantee you. I was in shape at 25. That boy is shaped like a freaking, what do you call that? Like an eggplant. 25 years old, Mackenzie Hellman requested medical assistance for his girlfriend's 2-year-old son, that baby boy right there, Stephen Meek II, and said that he was unresponsive after the boy took a fall. How many times? The only thing that would make this story the same as every story we talk about is if they add they found him in a bathtub. They always talk about the kids fell and somehow they died in a bathtub. I don't know how that always works out. But they're blaming it on the little boy, said he fell. But you're not going to believe that after you hear this story. When police and EMTs arrived at the home, located in the neighborhood of trailer homes, country bumpkins, yes, trailer homes, they found Mackenzie sitting on the living room floor next to the lifeless body of a tiny blonde boy, that baby. Mackenzie's girlfriend, and I'm going to give her name here in a moment, and Stephen's mother, Kayla Thomas, were at work. Rescue personnel performed CPR on Stephen for nearly 25 minutes before they finally got a pulse, and at which point he was taken to an ambulance to Lewis Gale Hospital, Montgomery. Later, he was airlifted to, let me see, what is this? Caroline Roanoke Memorial Hospital. That is a tongue twister. And placed on life support. Medical staff noted injuries that did not appear consistent with Mackenzie's incident account, which was that Stephen had fallen off of his bed. Investigators determined that the bed in question was Stephen's toddler bed and at the tallest height from which he could have fell would have been a total of 13 inches. But from here to about here, 13 inches, maybe even a little bit shorter, about here. 13 inches. The floor beneath was carpeted and padded with a playmat. There was no way that the injuries the baby sustained could have been caused by such a fall. Police launched a criminal investigation, and on January 13th, authorities arrested Mackenzie Kyle Hellman and charged him with 1 count of felony child abuse. He was held without bond at Montgomery County Jail and later transferred to West Virginia Regional Jail. Tests show that baby Stephen had only minimal brain activity, but his family hoped and prayed as he remained unresponsive on life support that whole weekend. But ultimately, at 7:40 p.m. on January 13th, Stephen Dale Meek II died from his injuries. The baby boy was only 2 years old. This story is about to get a hell of a lot worse, so I'm going to warn you guys. I'm going to give you some details, so this is your disclaimer. I have to give you guys the details about what caused him to die. So if you can't handle that, I understand if you need to exit my video. But that's what we're getting ready to talk about. Now, the investigation into his death revealed a history of physical and sexual abuse. Do y'all know how people like to use the terminology pedo? And they like to just launch that as an insult to people that they dislike for whatever stupid reason? If you know what a pedo is, and I think Mia Lee Hellinger talked about this on the show one time, so shout out to her because she knew that I got this terminology correct. Pedophile and hebephile are two different things. What you are looking at are mother and boyfriend who are pedophiles. The scum of the effing earth. Right there. Satan spawned Satan's own children. Right here on the damn screen. Yes, you heard me correctly. A history of physical and sexual abuse on a 2-year-old child. You know how they also say, well, it usually only happens to girls and it don't happen to boys? It's a little boy. Another little boy. You guys know how I've done all of these stories about boys being kidnapped, boys being raped by other grown men, boys also being sex trafficked. It happens more often than people actually want to understand. This is why we need to protect all children. Can we get that in the chat? Protect all children. Protect all children. Not just because they're a female child, a little girl. No, we need to protect all children. They're all vulnerable and they all are susceptible to the same type of abuse. They all are. And that's why they need us. The abuse occurred allegedly at the hands of not only his mother's boyfriend, but the mother herself. She participated. I'm telling y'all, this is about to get really dark. On Wednesday, January 16th, Christiansburg police arrested Stephen's mother. Her name is 25-year-old Kayla Nicole Thomas on multiple charges, including committing. I need to take a drink. The mother, they got her on multiple charges, including committing forcible sodomy by engaging in fellatio against the victim's will by force, threat, or intimidation. Lord have mercy. Inanimate object penetration of a person less than 13 years of age. Production of child pornography involving a child less than 15 years of age. Possession and distribution of child pornography. Let me say that again. possession and distribution of child pornography. Distribution is the key word. Who the fuck was she giving the porn to? They should know the answer to that by now. Even forensics ought to be able to look at their internet history, look at their emails, look at their text messages, look at their call records, subpoena for call records, do forensics on their phone, and find out who the recipient was on the other side. Do y'all hear me? I'm doing the best I can to not curse as much, to not get as angry as much, and not yell as much. When I read that, possession and distribution, that means you have to have somebody who is accepting it for payment. You could easily tie those things together. But we know it's big business. Being a parent or guardian, committing a willful act so gross and wanton as to show a reckless disregard for human life, child neglect. Everything that I just read were just the mother's charges. And no, I'm not going to repeat her charges again. Please rewind it if you need to. Absolutely freaking disgusting. You get this little pussy ass, thug punk, pedophile, and mix it with this mom. The mom's mentality was already screwed up. And if you ask me, because the mom took her child to the thug zoo and went and go play with the thug grizzly bear, this fool right here, if you ask me, I think the mom deserves worse punishment than mom's boyfriend, the thug grizzly bear. Don't y'all think? You placed the child in that situation, saw it happening, participated in it, and got paid for it? Y'all do know that's what porn is. You get paid for it. For profit. Hashtag babies for benefits. I don't even understand why she's still breathing oxygen. I really don't. Let's keep going. Kayla, who was pregnant at the time, Lord have mercy, wow. Pregnant at the time, was also locked up at Western Virginia Regional Jail and held with no bond. She had the absolute gall to face a judge the following day and ask in tears if she could be released from jail to attend her son's funeral. What the absolute shit? She had the absolute gall to face a judge the following day and ask while she was crying, because of course she's crying for herself because she didn't care about her kids at all. She's not a human being. She's not a mother. And she asked if she could attend her child's funeral who she caused to be murdered. On what planet do we do this? But stupid is as stupid thugs. Lord, wow. The judge told the crying woman in an orange jumpsuit, jail jumpsuit, that he could not make that decision until she had a bond hearing. Also on Thursday, January 17th, Mackenzie Hellman's charges were steeply upgraded. I'm only going to say this one time, so we're going to talk about the thug grizzly bear. Here's his charges. Murder while committing another felony, i.e. child abuse. Felony child abuse. 2 counts of aggravated sexual battery of a child less than 13 years old, which is the actual definition of pedophile. So make sure y'all get that right. Because most people don't know the difference between a hebophile and a pedophile. It's a difference. Solicitation of a minor less than 15 years old for sexual purposes. Accessory to inanimate object sexual penetration with a child less than 13 years of age. Accessory to forcible sodomy by engaging in fellatio with a child less than 13 years of age. I'm not going to read that again. Possession of child pornography, accessory before the fact to production of child pornography, and accessory before the fact to distribution of child pornography. According to police, Stephen was murdered and his death was caused by brutal blunt force trauma to the head. What did that little boy do to deserve any of this? When you look at this baby boy, what did he do to deserve any of that? What did he do to deserve that? Hebophile has to do with age. So if y'all don't know, if you Google it, it'll actually tell you pretty quickly. It's just the difference in age. It's a difference in age. Just so y'all know. Brutal blunt force trauma to the head. On a press conference, the Christiansburg Police Chief Mark Sisson said the first responder to the call arrived to find an adult male, Mackenzie Kyle Hellman, age 25, seated on the floor next to the unresponsive child. Our detectives continued with their investigation in the cause of Stephen's death and ultimately uncovered evidence that Stephen was not the only victim of physical abuse that resulted in his injuries on the 11th, but also that he had been the victim of sexual abuse at the hands of both Mackenzie Hellman and Stephen's mother, Kayla Thomas. Chief Sisson said that another child in the home was also believed to be a victim of sexual abuse. More kids. That child's case was handed over to Child Protective Services. Kayla did not have any other children. Mackenzie had a son about the same age as Stephen, who also lived part-time in the home. Chief Sisson continued, "What happened to this innocent child can only be described as horrific, and we can only imagine the pain by the loved ones of Stephen Meek, and our hearts and prayers go out to the families involved." Police expected the felony murder charge to be upgraded eventually, as felony murder is a charge that applies when a person dies accidentally during the commission of another felony, and they did not believe Stephen's death was an accident, because it wasn't. Sisson said that his agency seized multiple items in connection with the allegations of pornography and sexual abuse against the couple. An autopsy was conducted, but the report was not available until May, so prosecutors asked the judge to continue his preliminary hearing. The mother, right here, I don't even know what to call her. I don't even know what she looks like. She just looks stupid. Kayla waived her rights to a preliminary hearing, and her 5 felony charges were sent to a grand jury. At the hearing, Mackenzie's attorney, Fred Kellerman, requested an evaluation be conducted of his client's sanity at the time of the offense and his competency to stand trial, stating that Mackenzie had been involuntarily committed several times to mental health facilities. Here's my problem while we talk about mental health. because they only bring up mental health when a child dies and they're trying to get somebody to accept lesser charges. Do y'all see what my problem is and why I say that mental health cannot be used as an excuse for murder? And especially murder against children. No, it's not capital murder. I don't think it's quite capital murder. It's just a technicality. It's not quite technically capital murder. Mental health. But if you knew that he had mental health issues, then why did you allow him to be around these kids? Why did the mother accept him to be around these kids? Why were there no background checks done? To the biological fathers of these kids, why do we not do a background check on these women before we have unprotected sex with them and create children with them? This is a twofold thing. The blame is on both sides. We procreate with stupid ass people and they do stupid ass things to kids. That's pure evil. Thank you for saying that. That is. The evaluation was completed and he was found that he was competent to stand trial. Thank goodness for that. On the afternoon of December 20th of 2019, a pretrial hearing took place for Mackenzie at which cameras were not allowed in the courtroom. Why not? Why not? Anyway, the state filed a motion to drop some of the charges against him: 2 counts of aggravated sexual battery, solicitation of a minor, and forcible sodomy as an accessory, which left him a total of 6 charges, which is felony murder, felony child abuse / neglect, accessory before the fact to production of child pornography, accessory before the fact to distribute child pornography, accessory to inanimate object sexual penetration with a child less than 13 years old, and possession of child porn. Multiple witnesses testified at the pretrial hearing, providing as yet unheard details that were both shocking and sickening. I don't know that I want to go through quite all of this. Oh, wow. Wow. No. Look, guys, they gave very descriptive details about what they did to this. Now, I can't read all of this. Oh, my goodness. Y'all are going to have to Google this story. I can't read this. Ooh-wee. Let me tell y'all what this baby boy suffered. Chief Medical Examiner Amy Tharp, who detailed the injuries she found Stephen had suffered, 22 blunt force injuries to the head, 13 more injuries beneath the scalp, 4 injuries inside the mouth, 3 bruises inside the gum line of the mouth, 10 injuries to the torso, injuries to the right and left arm, right arm and left leg, bruising on the anus and inside the rectum, hemorrhaging inside the spinal cord. Oh, Lord Jesus. Bilateral retinal hemorrhages and subdural hemorrhaging. Dr. Tharp was asked if those injuries could have happened from the result of a fall off a toddler bed, to which she responded, if that kind of height could kill a child, none of us would have survived childhood. Wow. This is a very detailed report. I'm gonna skip a lot of this. Let me give you guys the fair usage. It's really, really long, and we're not gonna spend too much time reading the whole thing. But y'all get the gist of this. Let's get it. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107.
This little boy's death sparked an investigation into a whirlwind of shocking sexual assault allegations.
And today, the Christiansburg man charged with 2-year-old Stephen Meek's murder was in court facing charges for sexual abuse, child pornography, and more. Mackenzie Hellman and his girlfriend Kayla Thomas are accused of sexually abusing her son in January of 2019. 10 News reporter Jessica Jewell is live tonight. She's outside the courthouse. And Jessica, he was found guilty for the sexual abuse charges.
That's right, John and Brittany. It took the jury just about a half hour to find him guilty of all 5 of those charges, recommending he serve 2 life sentences in prison. This comes after a day of disturbing testimony focused entirely on those charges related to child pornography and sex crimes. Mackenzie Hellman finally had his day in court Monday, pleading not guilty to 5 felonies, ultimately found guilty for each. In court, 3 investigators explained child pornography was found on Hellman's phone and Thomas's phone. The evidence was disturbing, stemming from a secret message where Hellman asked Thomas to send him explicit videos involving her toddler. Those videos were discovered on her phone and a screenshot on Hellman's phone. The only time we really heard from Hellman was in a police interview about a week after those incidents. He admitted to wanting to explore the extent of his sexual desires, but claimed when he received it from Thomas, he found it disgusting. He repeatedly said he did not participate in making any child porn. He didn't like it, that he had a problem and didn't want Thomas to go down for something he asked her to do. The defense did not call any witnesses.
I want y'all to also remember that they also have video evidence. That's the wild thing about people lying when we have video evidence. Absolutely disgusting, man.
And Hellman chose not to testify. Hellman will officially be sentenced on June 29th. We're still waiting to hear when his murder trial will take place.
A Christiansburg man charged in connection to the murder of a toddler is found guilty of child pornography and sex crimes against the young boy. After just one day of disturbing testimony, it took the jury just over a half hour to deliberate. Mackenzie Hellman and his girlfriend, Kayla Thomas, are accused of murdering and sexually abusing her 2-year-old son, Stephen Meek, in January of 2019.
10 News was in court today where we have heard from 3 investigators who discovered child pornography on Hellman and Thomas's phones. The only time we heard from Hellman today was from a police interview where he admitted to wanting to explore the extent of his sexual desires, but claimed when received it from Thomas, he found it disgusting. The defense did not call any witnesses. Hellman chose not to testify. He's also charged with second-degree murder and child abuse and neglect. A date for that trial has not been set. We'll have a full breakdown of what happened in court on 10 News at 6 and WSLS.com.
10 News begins right now with breaking news.
A Christiansburg man receives 2 life sentences plus an additional 90 years in connection to the death and sexual abuse of his girlfriend's 2-year-old son. 10 News anchor McKinley Strother was the only television journalist in the courtroom today. He's got the latest from the Montgomery County Court.
The judicial life of Stephen Meeks may have come to a close this morning in the Montgomery County courtroom, but who he was lives on in the hearts of all those that knew him best. They gave him voice today. The man who stole his voice, Mackenzie Hellman, faced a judge today. He was sentenced to 2 life sentences plus 90 years behind bars. Stephen Meeks was the victim over 2 years ago of some very heinous crimes. His mother behind bars for her role in the sex and child abuse. Her boyfriend today, Mackenzie Hellman, learned he'll be behind bars for the rest of his life for his role in that abuse, as well as murder. He was sentenced to 40 years for second-degree murder, 5 years for neglect and abuse, a number of other years for the production, distribution, and possession of child pornography. He was also sentenced to life terms for those sex crimes as well. Mackenzie Hellman was very quick and short in his responses to the judge today. The judge very fast to accept those jury recommendations. Again, he'll serve 2 life sentences plus 90 years behind bars.
A mother accused of sexually assaulting her own son was back in court today facing charges in connection to the 2-year-old's death. 10 News reporter Lindsay Kennett explained what's next for Kayla Thomas.
Today's court proceedings were supposed to be a plea hearing for Kayla Thomas. However, prosecutors pushed for a jury trial that is now set for early next year. Kayla Thomas appeared in a Montgomery County Circuit courtroom Thursday afternoon. She's facing 5 felony charges, accused of sexually abusing her 2-year-old son and using him to make child pornography before his death. Investigators say the little boy died back in January of 2019 from blunt force trauma to the head, allegedly at the hands of Thomas's boyfriend, Mackenzie Hellman. In court Thursday, the judge agreed to a jury trial for Thomas, set for January 20th through the 22nd of 2021. The defense also requested an evaluation of Thomas's sanity at the time of the offense. Thomas's boyfriend, Hellman, is heading to trial on October 5th. Reporting in Christiansburg, I'm Lindsay Kennett, 10 News, working for you.
Here's something that you guys also need to know that I had to look up because this is exactly what I was looking for. A Montgomery County jury found Kayla Nicole Thomas, guilty Wednesday of 4 counts of sexually abusing her late son. The jury recommended a sentence of 2 life terms plus 10 years. So that actually sounds like she's getting almost exactly what the boyfriend got, which is what we wanted. A sentencing hearing is scheduled for September 23rd, which is not far from now. That's about 8 days from now. September 23rd is going to be next, not this coming Thursday, but next Thursday. So just to give you guys an update on that, where were the biological parents here? I don't know. Where were the family members? And also, I think it makes it even more disgusting. Yes, thank you. Hashtag babies for benefits. That's all they use these children for, but they did so much worse than this. And I'm going to tell you, man, hell is not full of pedophiles. It's not. They have a special place in hell for people like this that did that to that little boy. And not only that, but they did it to another kid as well. This little boy just couldn't survive for all of the stuff that he went through. And the fact that he was handed literally on a silver platter by the biological mother to the boyfriend, it's absolutely inexcusable. If we could bring back stoning, if we could bring back hanging, if we could bring back the firing squad, I would absolutely recommend these 2 bastards for that type of execution. They deserve it in the worst way for what they did to that precious baby boy who couldn't speak for himself, and he had no way to be able to defend himself against the tyranny of his own mother. I don't know what else to say. There just is no justice for something like this. To this baby boy, Stephen Meeks, young prince, R.I.P. We're going to end it right there, and that's the end of this story. And I don't really know that it's going to matter how they rule on September 23rd against the mother. If they go ahead and give her 2 life sentences and plus 10 years, then fine. But we're quick to, matter of fact, I want to bring this up. We're quick to want to try to put certain people on death row. Why don't we put child abusers and child murderers and child rapists and pedophiles? Why don't they get the death penalty. I'm just curious about that. The people who deserve it should be in that position. Thank y'all for listening.